because we know I do that. Couple of quick announcements, and then we'll get right to it. I believe we have not been notified that pumpkin spice is out, so keep getting it. Keep telling people about it. Apparently, corporate is catching on that we're a bunch of basic bitches up in here and starting to supply more. But I'm sure it's getting low. But either way, keep talking about it. Make sure you're always tuning into the cover photo in the team page. It has everything, all the goods with dates and stuff. If you did not see, we have a Coach 411 info webinar session, Zoominar, whatever you want to call it. Diamond leaders are getting together, and we have slides and everything like that. I know some of you were even on one. That's how you decided to coach. So we are going to be more consistent with doing those, as well as, let me make sure everyone's muted, with doing one webinar and one Instagram sneak peek every single month for you guys to get on. So our webinar this month is on Tuesday. It will be at 8:30 Eastern time. So start inviting. Make sure like your business is not going to grow unless you're putting an effort to it. So can you guys hear that ding, or is it just me? You can? Christ, Jesus. Sorry. Like, I see people's faces, so I'm like, it has to, like, you guys have to hear that. That's Chelsea Farmer. Thank you. Let's stop now. Okay. So anyways, you have to put an effort to grow your business. So call to action posts, talk about it on your stories. If you can't expect to just say it and people join, go invite, get behind the scenes, get people on the call with us. It's going to be exciting to share this opportunity. It's buzzing right now, so let's keep people on there. I think that's really the only other announcements. Tomorrow in the roundtable, we do have a training. Golly, Jesus. We do have a training on 30-day breakaway. So I know we had some test groupers as well, and we'll have a team call on that later this month, but I will be popping on that in the roundtable tomorrow, and we'll bring you any information that we do have. So that's really all we have. I want to get right into tonight's call, and I am so excited. You guys all know Niki, my grandma coach. So for some of you, it's like your great. I know that makes you feel so good, Niki, but she is our amazing upline. You all know who she is. You should know who she is. If you don't, like, you're living under a rock. But we are just so blessed to have such an incredible upline. She is a mama of 3, and I believe, did I freeze? She's a mama of 3. I believe she started her coaching business right after she had her first, Wesley, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But so, I mean, she's been through every season of life, growing her business through pregnancy, postpartum, mom of 2, mom of 3. Like, she's been through it. So she is truly, like, embodies everything that we all should look up to in a leader. And if every person aspired to be Niki Whiting, we would have a much better world. So she has built, obviously founder of Beatnik Dynasty, which is our amazing upline. She is a 15-star diamond coach, which is the highest rank that you can achieve. I literally, right when I started coaching, I watched them all at Summit, and that's the reason I decided to coach. And I watched her walk across the stage with her second baby strapped on to get recognized as a superstar team. So when I say she's been through it all, she really has, like, the seasons of life. She is a Legacy Club member, which used to be called the Millionaire Club. So if you're unfamiliar with what Legacy Club is, over the course of your career, you've earned $1 million. Pretty freaking sweet. So she's Legacy Club member and an SC10 pregnancy out of breath because you're so awesome. SC10 legend, which means she has hit Success Club 10 for 24 consecutive months, and basically has done that like 4 times over because she's 87 months in SC10. So that's over 7 years for anyone not great at math. So, woof, there we go. But we're going to turn it over to Niki. I'm so excited to have her here and to talk to us. So I'm muting myself. You take it away.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for that amazing welcome. And I totally understand the, like, trying to host team calls and out of breath pregnancy. So it makes me laugh only because I've been there so many times. And I got like a little teary-eyed when you talked about walking across the stage with Willow. She was my second, and I really wanted to be there with the team. She was 6 weeks old, and we took her, and maybe 7 weeks. Probably should have like stayed back, in hindsight, but I just wanted her to be a part of that. And obviously, like, mom comes first, but it's really cool that this business allows us to do the things that we need to do and want to do and prioritize in our families. But I am going to speak tonight too on just having to do some things that I didn't want to do in the beginning to get to that place. Because like she said, I've been doing this for over 7 years. So feels like so crazy to go back to the beginning, but I think it's so important to like constantly share where it all started and like what that looked like, and that like short-term sacrifice in order for me to find this long-term goal. Because in the beginning, when I signed up, I was like, in no way, shape, or form was I like, oh yeah, like MLM will be my career. Like that's going to be my thing. That was just not it for me. I was very skeptical as far as my ability to succeed. And a lot of fear-based kind of mindset during that time. But I knew that people have had success. And so them seeing the vision before I necessarily saw the vision was really all that I needed to at least have faith in the fact that it could work. And if I do these things, then the hope is that it works for me, And so that is kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today, is just knowing that like there is going to be a grind. There is a grind to this, but there's also this like reaping comes to fruition, and you start to see it. Like she said, like you're the great, 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 great grandma coach of these people. That is so awesome for me to hear and see, because when I signed up, it was just me. And there's this slow ripple effect of, impacting people's lives in a way that is so small in the beginning. It's like, can I find just a couple people to do this with me and enjoy this the way that I love it, and find that community aspect of it all? And then before you know it, you turn around and you've been in it for 7+ years, and you have these badass leaders like Morgan who are in like 9-star qual right now. I mean, it's so great. And so many of that is happening in my downline. And that is what I love to see. Nothing cooler than seeing like other coaches finding that success in their like thing, their team, their groove, whatever. So I'm going to take it back to almost like a day in the life of what it was like for me in the beginning years of coaching, and then what were like my struggles. How did I kind of push past that adversity and move forward from it? And then my push to, because I know it's not everyone's goal, but my push to stay home and be able to work this job full time. And then at the end, I'll just kind of tell you like what my work looks like now, and just you can kind of see over 7 years how it changes and how it shifts, and in some ways how it doesn't change. Okay, so the first thing is, when I began, like she said, I was 6 months postpartum with our first daughter, Wesley, and I was a teacher turned stay-at-home mom. If you've ever like listened to my story, anxiety ridden, depression, like had a lot of that as my background, dealt with a lot of it I was very like a situational anxiety. And so for me, a lot of it revolved around my job and just not loving what I was doing and really dreading Mondays. Like, I mean, to the point where Friday was great, but already on Saturday, I was thinking about, Monday, and on Sunday, it was like, forget about it. Nothing could be done on Sunday, because I was already just really doomed thinking about Monday. And that really was my reality for a very long time in my jobs, even in a teaching position that I had right before I went on maternity leave, where everyone was great. It just was still, it didn't matter how good the situation was. I just had this feeling like this isn't it for me. Like this is not what I want to be doing long term. And obviously didn't see this being that, but I knew it was going to be something. And so when my coach reached out to me, yeah, you guys can chat in the chat box. I'm going to like try to look every once in a while. I get distracted sometimes, but I can come back to it. But when my coach reached out to ask me to be a challenger, and I say that on every call because I want to encourage you guys who are on a call and just so fearful about the inviting process that you stop yourself from ever doing it. I never would have reached out to my coach and asked for her help with, I didn't know what Beachbody was. And I mean, maybe a few years down the road, I would have known what it was, but doubtful that I would have gone to someone. I most likely would have just like gone to a website and just like tried to look it up myself. That's just me. And she reached out to me, asked me to be a part of a challenge group, and I was the world's worst challenger. I got my thing off eBay. I didn't want Shakeology because I just really didn't need that. I didn't need any supplements, like just, I didn't need any of it. But like, if you would just still coach me, I would love to be a part of your group. And thank God she was like, yes. She opened the door and she said, sure, like, let's do it together and let's see what happens. I hope you get on board with supplements down the road. But she accepted me in. And because of that, I fell in love with this community. I fell in love with Beachbody. I fell in love with the trainers. I fell in love with the challenge groups, all of that stuff. And she ended up inviting me to the coaching opportunity. And I'll skip through all of that, but she asked 3 times. And by the 3rd time, I said yes. And here we are. And I'm so thankful that she did. She never earned a challenge. She never got a single successful point from me. But we joke that hopefully Beatnik has made up that no success points, over time. But that was kind of my life when I began. And so I was, mom who was really craving like adult interaction. And so this community was good for me because I was at home all day with a baby and my husband was working. And it just was a grind. And I was tired and I was not treating myself well, was not exercising. I was not worried. I didn't know how to eat clean. I mean, that was like back when clean eating wasn't hugely popular. It wasn't really a thing. And so when I started coaching, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what she said to do. Like this has obviously worked for her at that time. I think she was already a mom of 3. And I'm like, if she can do this, I can do this. But I wanted that time with my child. So I was at home and I was substitute teaching here and there. But what I would do is I spent about 1 to 2 hours a day in the beginning, but broken up time. Very broken up. So early in the morning, maybe at lunchtime when we were sitting down and, Wesley was in a high chair and we were having lunch, responded. When she went down for a nap, that was when I worked out. That was when I really dove into the business side and the team pages and trainings. And then at night when she went to bed, I sat down with my computer on my couch and busted out invites. And I invited all the time because people were just coming to me. Like this was a whole new thing for them. So people were not busting down the door and I'll talk about that in my struggles. But naps, lunch, and bedtime were my work hours because I did not want to be working when she was awake. And so that was big for me. Now, I did not miss team calls. I did not miss them. I was there and I really tried to catch them live. So shout out to you guys for really prioritizing that tonight. Because the energy was so different when it was live versus trying to watch it on my own later. And I understand so many have to watch it recorded, and that is 100% fine. But if you can make the sacrifice to get on the team calls and really soak up what everybody's talking about and get involved in the conversation and asking questions, that was huge for me. And I loved it. And I took every single note. But along with taking the notes, I applied the notes. And that was a big key too, is I see a lot of coaches who take all the notes and absorb all the trainings, but then they don't actually take that and apply it to their actual coach business or their social media platform or, whatever it is. And then I have never not been consistent in my business. Now, consistency might look different. There are definitely ebbs and flows. There are all the time I talk about hustles and consistency, where there's certain times when I'm really pushing for something and our team is going for something and my work is a little more crazy. And then there's times of just the ebbs and flows where I'm just okay, I'm going with the flow and I'm doing what I need to do right now because I'm about to have a baby or I just had a baby or life is crazy or it's the holidays or whatever. as long as you map out that time, then you're going to be fine. But always staying consistent. I always showed up no matter what hard I was going through in life, because life is hard. And in 2017, it took a dive for me. My anxiety, my depression was something that I had never experienced to that level. I was in the depths of my business. I had seen Beachbody rise. I had seen people give up on Beachbody. I saw, and then I saw it take off again. And it's just incredible what's happening right now. So when people say, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out about this part of my business, or, oh, I can't believe this just happened. Literally nothing in this business surprises me anymore, because over 7.5 years, I have seen it all. I have felt it all to my core. I have learned to not take things so personally when this is such a personalized business, because we've developed such friendships and such relationship building. It's such a relationship building business. But that was something that I really struggled with. But I will tell you that even in that time where it was hard some days to just get out of bed, I still was consistent in some way in my business. So my struggles, did I have struggles? Absolutely. I had struggles. I had, like I was saying, I would post, and I swear Time Hop is your best reminder of how far you've come in your posts and what they look like. And I would like pick collage. I was showing our babysitter the other day, who's also a coach, and I was like, wait, look at this post that I did. And I was like a 2-star diamond. And it was like Sagi from Body Beast and Shalene from Turner, like stock photos, and then like a bunch of words that I had picked collaged all over it. And I was like, who wants to join me? And it got like 7 likes. And I mean, my husband was one, my mom was one, my coach was one. Like it was, I was not crushing it on social media by any means. People telling me that it was a pyramid scheme, especially back then. You know, now I feel like there's so many other network markets that it's become a little more mainstream. But of course, you're still going to get the haters. But back then, it was like not even a thing that people talked about. You know, when I would go to get-togethers with our friends, people would ask, "How's everybody's job? How's everybody's business?" But no one looked to me and asked me how my business was. Nobody asked me. It was almost like they just downplayed it to like, that's just this little cute thing she's doing on the side. Little did they know this business was crushing it behind the scenes and was changing so many lives and changing our lives forever. But I sat silent, you know, and just at that time was a little bit intimidated and not really sure how to respond. But a lot of people, including family, that were naysayers as far as it being a pyramid scheme, didn't have a lot of like family or friend support in the beginning. I always say like my best friends were definitely not the ones who joined me right away. It took them a while, like a couple of them, it took them until Morning Meltdown came out, which was last year, to actually say, hey, I think I want to do something with you. But my best friends not wanting to do that right away was not going to determine my success. Like if a couple of people, you know, didn't want to do that with me, I can't think that a couple of people not wanting to do something would determine my vision for like how big this was going to be. And I was not really had a hard time finding balance, because in the beginning I was so obsessed with it. I loved it so much that I wanted to work all the time. So I will encourage you guys to find the work-life balance. Figure out like what your hours are going to look like, what needs to happen that particular day. You know, maybe your power hour isn't the same every day. Maybe it looks a little bit different and you're doing different things each day. Because I, you know, had to sit down and have a conversation with my husband and say, he was like, hey, you know, like we have time. Our daughter goes down to bed. Like, you're going to work your business all the time? And I was like, well, I am going to hustle right now because we got goals. but here's what I'm going to make time for our relationship, and here's when I make time for my business. And I turn notifications off of Facebook. I turn them off of Instagram. I plug in when I plug in, and that's the only time that I see any notifications. So just, think about ways that you can give yourself work hours, because it is a job. And at the end of the day, every job has business hours. Feeling like a fear of failure, like what if no one wanted to join me or do this with me? That's why I said no 3 times. Very small group in the beginning. I was running a lot of free groups. That was definitely something that I was offering. So I was doing a lot of free work in the hope that I was building really great relationships and that was going to pay off in the future, which it did. So I was doing a lot of getting supplements and things in their hands as samples, giving a lot of free value in my groups, in hopes that they would be these lifelong lifers, because that's what happened with me. I was never a huge recruiter in the beginning. Our team has been I think our second year we ended number 11, which was super annoying because you're just like right there. But we've always been top 50 every single year, and I've never been a huge recruiter. Now, I will say I've upped my recruiting game over time, which has come with a lot of marketing changes and attraction markets happening the longer I've been in the business. But I think it was maybe 2 to 4 a month, and that kept us in the top 25 because the people I was finding were ready to work and they were ready to do this with me. And so it didn't have to be big numbers if I knew that they were going to be working. And so keep that in mind too when you're looking at challengers and who would be really great coaches, because it really only takes one Morgan or, it only takes a couple of really awesome people to really kind of expect. I struggled with, like I said, taking this personally, struggled with coaches quitting. The first coach that quit on me, I literally was dagger to the heart. Oh my gosh, how could they not love this the way that I love this? Oh my gosh, I'm obviously not a great leader. Well, my whole team is falling apart now because nobody's going to stick around with me. A lot of conversations in my head about why would they quit or whatever. And you just have to remember, this is not for everyone. Not everyone is going to work the way that you're willing to work. That's never going to happen. And you can sign a ton of coaches, but I will tell you right now, there's only going to be a handful that are really going to work the way that you're going to work. And that's all it takes. That really is all that it takes. And just staying motivated. I struggled to stay motivated all the time because you wake up and do it every day. And in my inbox, every day on Instagram, I just wish I had your motivation. And they say that on the business side, and they say that on the fitness side. I am not motivated every day. And I try to tell people that on my stories every once in a while and just remind people that I am human. I do not wake up every day and want to work before the sun is up. I don't wake up and want to work out on days that I struggled with a child that wasn't sleeping all night long. I mean, no. But what I found was that I was determined. So I had certain goals. I wasn't necessarily motivated every day, but I was determined to change what was currently my reality. And if that meant where I was in my business or where it was in my fitness journey, like you always hear people say, your want for change has to be better than the one to remain the same. So if you want something to be different, you're going to have to work differently at it, or it's just going to stay the way it is. Something has to change on your end in order for something to happen. So how did I push past it? How did I push past the, all of those struggles and move forward from that? Again, the word consistency. I'm going to say that all the time. Daily activities, showing up every single day and diving in, making a list. I'm still paper and pen kind of girl. So I'm someone who I write it down. If it's not written down, it's not getting done. And I check it off. I don't know if any of you guys have ever, I'm like, oh, I already did that, but I didn't write it in my planner. And I will write it out and just so I can just scratch through it, even though it's already done. It just makes me feel good. So having those daily activities, things down, working from a list, and always, even when I host power hours to this day, I always do the things I don't want to do first. So when my daughter would go down for the night, back then I was a very big red wine drinker, and I would grab red wine and my laptop and go out on our back deck, this little pergola, and I would bust through invites because I didn't want to do them and they made me feel uncomfortable. And so I did them first, because if I got through a power hour and ran out of time, and I'd say, well, I just don't have time, and then I just wouldn't have invited. And I definitely needed to do that, because I can tell you hundreds of people stories whose lives are changed because myself or someone else had the guts to reach out and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Would you like to just at least try and just see? And their life has maybe changed in the form of, I've lost over 100 pounds, or I've gained confidence in my relationship, parenting. I feel like my life has changed because of coaching, whatever it is, the income, whatever it might be. Staying consistent in my own journey, it was another thing. And so I always say, if you've not started and finished a program, you need to do it. Now, don't look at my stories this week, because I am so all over the map with what I'm going to do next. But I'm usually like a start and finish girl. But right now I'm just really trying to find my next thing. But I always say, like, always being on your journey is always going to inspire people, no matter what level of fitness you're at or what part of your life you're in. Sharing it often, showing up and sharing it. Personal development. I mean, we're seeing vital behaviors popping out of this call like left and right, but personal development was so key, especially when I was so hung up on what other people had to say about my business. I had to dive into personal development for my own good, because we're pouring, right? We're constantly pouring into everyone else to try to fill their cups up. That's what we do as coaches. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not a therapist. You're going to need to really go to someone for that. But I try to just bring a vibe and try to help people when you can. That's what we do as humans. But then we leave ourselves empty, and especially if you're a parent. I'm a mom of 3, virtual learning and in school, preschool, and a baby. And so at the end of the day, your cup is empty. And so it's our job to try to fill that up as much as we can. We have to work on ourselves. Finding workers, finding new people. I will tell you, in 2017, a lot of you random wine MLM, which is not even a thing anymore, came around and decided that they were gonna literally message everyone, and seemed so good to be too good to be true. And a lot of people don't go try it. And that was whoa for me. I was like, wait, what's happening? Wait, where's everybody going? And I felt good in Beatnik, because we honestly didn't see a huge change, which was really true to our community. It really showed a lot about us and how we are together. But I saw a lot of teams really starting to crumble, and they were losing people, and people who were struggling were draining energy of other leaders and other coaches, and just constantly talking about what was going wrong. And it was this energy that just took over like a freaking plague. And I will tell you right now, you're going to have people that constantly go in and out of this business. Find the ones who are excited about this business. So what did I do? I dove headfirst into the newbies who were up and coming, who were getting after it, the joy fouls, the ones who were really excited and newer in this business, who I knew were going to crush it. And I fed off their energy, and they fed off my energy. And so always be surrounding yourselves with the ones who are trying to make your business better, because you're going to, whether you think you will or not, you are going to 100%. That vibe is going to be, that energy is going to be contagious for sure. So just constantly finding workers and new people. And then working on personal development goes along with this, but just working on your weaknesses, but also banking on your strengths. So when we play that comparison game back and forth of like looking at other coaches and what they do really great and whatever, what they do really well, you may not thrive in, but I can promise you that you do have strengths, whether you've seen them or not, that maybe they don't have. So feeding off of your own strengths, using those to your advantage, and then using personal development to work on the things that you feel like are weaker aspects of your business. So when I started to push towards like, okay, because I was substitute teaching a little bit on the side, and the thought was I will eventually go back to teaching before coaching. That was kind of, so the push to stay home was, okay, I was a new mom, subbing a few times a week. I was pumping in a small room on breaks and, you know, going back to the baby. And it was a lot. I knew I could replace that income. I knew that because I was watching other people do it. And so I was determined to figure out the way. And so the way that I did that for myself was reverse engineering how I was going to do it. Because you can get off this call and be fired up and say, I am going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go full time. I'm going to make this amount of money. I'm going to be this rank. I'm going to hit blah, blah. You can say all those things, but you have to know how to actually physically do that in your business. And so we have to take a little bit of responsibility in saying, okay, I need to reverse engineer, meaning look where do I need to go to get myself there? What does the business need to look like for me? Is that hitting Success Club? How many coaches do I need to be adding monthly? I was running a group. I've run a group every month since I started coaching. Hasn't stopped. Social media growth. Is that something I need to do? Am I running my business primarily on social media? Then what do I need to look to as far as what my social media platforms look like? Evolving as the business evolved and as social media evolved, getting my butt to live events. I mean, Willow walked across that stage with me at 7 weeks old. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I'm saying that's how important it was for me to get to Super Saturdays, to get to the corporate functions, to get to leader retreats, if my upline was hosting a retreat, I was finding a way to get there. You know, if Beachbody had a new leader conference, which they didn't back then, I would have hustled my butt off to get to that because I knew surrounding myself with other people at that stage of their business at the same time as me was going to be huge, like huge. So finding the goal, what's the goals coming out of this last quarter of the year? What's it going to look like in the new year? Where do I want to be by next summit? You know, what are these things where do I want to be? We're looking that far ahead. And then it's like, what do I do to get there? How do I reverse and think about what that needs to like daily for me? What is the income? What's the volume need to be? All that kind of stuff. And then once my salary was replaced, as far as like what I was making as a teacher, I started to share that often. And I know things have gotten a little tricky as far as what we can share, like compensation wise, but I will tell you, especially early on, you know, I think they're looking to more like, we don't want you to share you make $1 million or whatever. Like it just looks a little grimy, and it's hard to say like, oh, you'll just make $1 million. But what you can say are the things that I said early on. I replaced the cost of my groceries. I paid for our utilities that month. I was able to work up to paying for our mortgage. I created a savings for my kids. I took my daughter and myself to Disney for the first time. All of those things are really big moments for a lot of people. If they're looking for another side income, then they need the income. And so it's okay to like talk about those things and how it's helping your business and how so moving on to like what do things look like now? I have shorter work hours. I don't work as often as far as like days of the week. So I used to work, even on the weekends, I was working like Monday through Sunday because I wanted to. And that was a choice that I made. I don't do that anymore because now I have 3 kids. We've got activities and whatever. And I have the ability to have help. and I have a sitter. And so I've been able to have a little bit of help. And so I, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday have that help. And on those days, I cram in all my work stuff. Usually all my calls, like I don't usually do calls after Wednesdays. Obviously, was so thankful that Morgan asked me to do this tonight. But my normal work week is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, a grind. Like all things. And then Thursday is like recognition day, checking in with the team and challengers, and just like kind of really just like a celebratory day and doing like little things I want to do in my business. Friday is like a catch-all day where it's like anything that needs to be made up. If we had to cancel a call and we're like redoing a one-on-one or whatever, but just kind of playing back and forth with answering messages and that sort of thing. And then I really try to shut it off on the weekends. And that's my choice, and that's what I've decided. But I've worked for that to have, 7 years in. That's the hope, is that your business will still continue to thrive when you choose different hours. I was all night calls all the time. And now it's like, can we get them in the daytime? If I can fit them in during the day, I'm fitting them all in during the day. Obviously, if I have working coaches that need me at a certain time after hours, I'm going to be there for them. But I'm able to really get back to like a more daytime hour feel. Like I said, able to hire help, which was huge. Delegating tasks was something that I really was hard. It was hard for me to do in the beginning, but delegating team calls. And so other people, we can rotate through other people, delegating and having someone help me with my challenge groups sometimes, helping me with graphics. All of those came with time when I felt like, okay, I'm going to invest money into my business because it's going to be worth my time, because to me, time is definitely money. And so that is something that was important to me once I was able to do it. Still super consistent, still showing up for power hours every day, still on my stories every freaking day with supplements, with my workout. I'm still starting and finishing programs, taking transformation pictures, showing up on team, doing one-on-one things, because it is a business. You are not always going to love everything about your job, but it is a job at the end of the day. We are lucky to have one that's pretty cool, and we hang out with a lot of people that we love, but at the end of the day, it's a job, and there's going to be things that don't go so well, and there's going to be things that we don't love, but we do them anyway, because if we had a boss, our boss would tell them to do them. And now this is the hard part of being your own boss, is saying, okay, I'm going to tell myself I have to do this today, because it's really easy to do the things that we need to do to move our business forward, but it's also really easy to not do those things. And so we need to make sure that we're consistently trying to show up and make those things happen. And then right now I've come to a place where a lot of people say, what about messaging? Like, you're messaging all the time. I still message people. I still talk to my challengers after coaching. I still reach out to who I think would make coaches on social media, but it's not near what it was in the beginning, because the hope is that time you create an attraction from being consistent, from showing up every day, from growing your social media, from sending the messages, and all of the things create an attraction market to where you have these conversations. Change as far as it looks like with my business. Yeah, I think I don't really have a lot else to add to that, other than I hope you guys know that everybody starts in the same place. Everybody has the same struggles. Everybody feels them on a personal level sometimes. We all have super highs and really low lows in our business, but the vision has to be bigger than your fears of working this business and showing up every single day to make it happen. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. Well, thank you for getting on Thursday night. We appreciate it more than you.
I said that, I was like, I don't want to make her feel bad. I totally still do other people's calls because they have, their nights. But for me,
I'm pretty sure I said we can every Thursday, so you didn't make me feel bad.
No.
No, you're good. I like my internet is going in and out now, but
I
I
know
always
it's a
have
little
like
smart.
a couple minutes just for a few select questions if you guys want to ask them, because I want to respect everyone's time, and especially Niki's. Like say mom, family, that's important. And I just think when I reached out to Niki to speak about this, that's what I kind of asked, like, can you talk about those short-term sacrifices for, am I like breaking in and out?
A little bit.
Yeah. But I wanted Niki because she has been in this for 7 years. And so I wanted her to speak on, sometimes in the beginning, like, we have to make those sacrifices, even when you do have family. Like she said, she was working in small pockets and making it happen because it was that important for the life that she has now. And I guess one of the questions that I kind of have is, when you were starting in the beginning and you had this vision of where you wanted your life to be, like, when you saw it slipping, what did you do to bring it back and be like, no, I'm going to hustle for this because that's what I want?
I mean, I knew, first of all, that this business wasn't going anywhere. Like, I knew that people were always going to need health and fitness. I knew that Beachbody was a structure that was great. They've been around for, almost 20 years at the time. And so I knew that all of those things were in place. I knew that to be honest, I looked at it and said, you know what, if people are going to jump ship or do something and go somewhere else, then those aren't my people anyway. And those people were not there for the right reasons to begin with. And so I had to look at it that way. It is, kind of, you look back and you're like, I look at people now, I'm like, this is like our best year yet. I tell people all the time, like, 7 years in, you guys, and we're having our highest weeks as far as volume and paychecks and everything, and like all these rank advancements and everything. So like, now is the time. Like, it is crazy right now. But I also tell you guys that in those, like, just remember that you always need to have blinders on. I was someone who always, like, was head down in where people were like maybe saying things that was negative, or you'd see like threads that I stopped showing up, guys, checking in here. It was too much for me. I'm feeling myself echo. You guys hear me? I don't know what's going on. So for me, it was like, okay, I have to just keep my head down and see the vision for myself and not give up on that. And like I said, just find the people who were excited about the business and dive into that. And so I did. And I would just pivot, according to what was a struggle at the time and what was a strength. And to be honest, what I wanted to see more of in our team, and I still do this to this day, what you want to see more of is what you need to be recognizing and what you need to be acknowledging. And so if it's coaches hitting Success Club, or it's people hitting a certain volume number, because at the end of the day, the volume is where your income is going to come from. And like all those sorts of things, when I wanted to see that grow, then that's what I recognized within the team. And so whatever you want to see grow in your business, whether it is, challengers showing up for themselves or coaches adding someone, when that happens for your team, recognize them. That's why it was added as a fourth vital behavior. When I signed up, there was 3 vital behaviors. It was added as a fourth because it's so important to constantly be recognizing what you want to see more of in your business and what you want to see them hustling for.
Sorry, I switched over to my phone. It's a mess.
That's okay.
Yeah, so does anyone else have any questions? We'll take like one more, have like a minute for questions. But I know one thing a few people said in the chat, as far as like when you're inviting, and I know you mentioned, like, thank goodness Stephanie invited you. And I know for me, like, Joy invited me. Many of you guys on this call, like, you were invited. You did not seek me out or seek out your coach. But in the beginning, you feel annoying, or people are ghosting you, or people are ignoring you. Like, how did you get past that to keep hustling for your goals and your dreams, knowing that this is amazing, but when you had, besides personal development, obviously, but when people were saying like no or rejecting you or ignoring you, like how did you keep going?
I literally just did it. Like I said, I was super uncomfortable doing it in the beginning. And so I went outside. I felt like it was like a safer space. I don't know. Like I just went to where I felt best doing it. And I always went outside with my wine and would sit down and I would hustle the invites first. And as soon as I was done with inviting, I shut off my messenger. Like I just shut it and would not even open it until the next day because I knew, first of all, two things, especially in a business where you run it on social media. At the end of the night, don't check your messages at the very end of the night because you're going to always find something you don't want to see and something that bums you out. Also, do one thing when you wake up that gives you a little sense of peace before you open your inbox or your emails as well, because your day is then shattered right away if you see something negative. So for me, it was protecting my headspace and my, mental well-being by just not doing certain things at certain times of the day. And sometimes it's not even coach related anymore, but when you grow your platform to a certain point, everybody has something to say about what you're doing and how correct you are and how you're doing it. And so it was, just things would come out of the woodworks at night. I'm like, I got to stop opening my inbox at night or early in the morning. So I started to put my daily devotional for me in the morning right by my bed. And that was something I could look to and whatever. And then I would get up with my kids first and kind of get moving. And then once I got moving and I could check in, it didn't feel so, overwhelming. I could look at it with a clear head and be like, okay, this is fine. Like I can deal with this and move on with my life.
Love that. Those were two very, very, very good tips. Cool. Well, we won't take any more of anyone's time. Niki, we appreciate you so, so, so much just getting on and sharing it. Obviously, all of you guys have access to Niki all the time. So make sure you're pouring into team pages. I know there were some questions about calls and groups and stuff like that. You guys, there's a wealth of knowledge on YouTube. Look at, just like Niki was saying, team calls, like not just ours. If you're driving to and from work or whatever it is, go into archives, go to the National Wake Up Calls. Like there are so many resources for you, but we also have some team calls about free groups. So the ones of you who asked, I'll tag you in that. But
search into the team page, like in the search tab, free groups or free challenge groups or challenge groups. Beatnik's been around. I think we created that like 6 years ago. So there's so much in there. It may be really, really old, but some of it's not so old and a lot of it is still relevant. So just free groups, meaning anywhere from 7 days to 30 days, just free value as far as like a free meal plan, allow them to eat clean. You could do a shake challenge where they eat clean and have a shake a day. A lot of different ways to incorporate in the free bod workouts now, just so they get a glimpse into what it's like to be a part of a group and what the products are like. And then if they want to move on from there, they can. And that was kind of what I did.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Such a good call. I will get this up tomorrow for you. You know the deal. Check the unit. Niki, we appreciate you always. So blessed to have such an amazing leader to look up to every day. And just thank you for sharing your story and being real and sharing what it takes to get where you are now. So,
well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys being on tonight. I know it's a sacrifice at 9:20. So, again, I'm honored to be on the call tonight. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Niki. You guys all have a wonderful night. If you need anything, you always know where to find us. Bye, guys.